Hi, I'm Joe from As the Joe Flies,
And I'm Leslie from Trips with Tykes.
and welcome back to Disney Deciphered. All right, so we're closing out our look at Disney World hotels by, I guess, price level, luxury level. You know, Disney breaks them down to value, moderate, and deluxe. We've done the moderates, we've done the values. Now we're going to talk about deluxe, going through different categories, different things you might be looking for in a hotel, and picking our favorites. Refer back to our old episodes if you are looking for moderate and value. Deluxe resorts, surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, Leslie, there are the most options in the deluxe level. Surprisingly, because it's the most expensive, but also not surprisingly, because it's the most expensive. And it's Disney that we're talking about here. But tell us a little bit about what we're looking at when we are looking at the deluxe resort, Leslie.
So there are a lot of options, and technically, we should mention there are deluxe resorts and there are deluxe villa resorts. And those are often co-located. So there are some hotels that have both regular deluxe rooms and then villa rooms as well. And there's some that have one and some that have the other. So it's a little bit complicated. Definitely have to do a little bit of a deep dive if you're not familiar with this out of the gate. But deluxe resorts, of course, have all of the privileges that you can get for on-property stays. You get the early entry, you get the lightning lane priority 7-day length of stay, booking ability, and then you also get the deluxe extra evening, whatever they're called, hours, a couple of days a week. So that's really the bonus benefit of staying in a deluxe resort. And I guess now, Joe, now that there's Lightning Lane Premier Pass, you also get the privilege of paying many hundreds of dollars if you want to purchase that.
Yeah, I was wondering if you were going to forget about that. For some reason, I can never get the morning one correct, but the evening one, I never forget. It's extended evening hours. Typically, Epcot on Mondays, Magic Kingdom on Wednesdays, but depending on the season, depending on what's going on, sometimes that can change a little bit. So, those are the deluxe resorts. I think the other thing that you didn't mention, Leslie, is that it doesn't go for all the deluxe resorts, but a lot of the deluxe resorts are very conveniently located. I mean, if we had done this episode 5 years ago, no value or moderate would have been as convenient as some of the deluxe resorts. We'll get to that when we get to that category of hotel breakdown, but I wanted to mention that up front because some of them really are, I mean, the Contemporary is famous since you see the monorail going through the A-frame and it's right there next to Magic Kingdom. A lot of the deluxes cannot be beat for convenience when it comes to things like that when you're comparing to the other categories. I think the other thing that we can add, deluxes are basically where you're gonna, like, if you want to spend the most money, that's where you can spend the most money. This is where you have the most options for suites. That's where you can go club level if you want, have a concierge lounge. Grand Destino Tower at the Coronado Springs being the only exception. Just a lot of more frills if you're staying deluxe. So let's get to those frills, Leslie, and get straight to those categories. What are we starting with today?
All right, well, let's first quickly go over the names of the deluxe and deluxe villa resorts for
We're going
folks
to be
who aren't
here all
familiar.
day.
I know.
Okay,
I'll
but
read it
fine.
quickly. Okay.
You're right.
Really fast. Okay, you got Boardwalk, you got Beach and Yacht Club, you have the Grand Floridian, the Contemporary, Wilderness Lodge, Animal Kingdom Lodge, the Polynesian, and then you have the villa only Saratoga Springs, Old Key West, and Riviera. That was fast, right?
That was good. I'm going to try to splice in as many as possible for the YouTube version, youtube.com/@DisneyDeciphered. All of these resorts, except for the villa only ones that you said, both have a hotel and the villa version, which is DVC, except for Yacht Club does not have villas. But we've said this many times. I consider Beach and Yacht Club the same resort, even though they're technically different. They have different check-in desks and the like. Okay, so let's start with price, Leslie. You can spend pretty much as much money as you want to spend on these. What are the cheapest prices we're looking at when we're looking at these deluxe resorts to get? A lot of people just want those extended evening hour benefits. And so what's the cheapest?
So I guess technically the cheapest is Saratoga Springs and Old Key West, but you and I both know those are only villa only resorts. So that's like with a little bit of an asterisk next to it. So if you want to stay sort of in a true regular hotel, then Animal Kingdom Lodge, Jumbo House is going to be the cheapest of the deluxe properties. And those are really within a couple of dollars of each other. So again, it's just based upon what your dates are and just do the search or what room type is available. Those three are going to be your best bet for finding several $100s, sometimes cheaper than, say, the most expensive, which is the Grand Floridian. I mean, that can be well over $1,000 a night, and you can often find Animal Kingdom Lodge in the 400s, even without a sale being applied.
Definitely. Just to talk about the villa thing really quickly, if you're booking it through Disney and not renting DVC points or anything like that, basically if you're booking it like a normal hotel, it's going to feel mostly like a normal hotel. The rooms are a little bit different, but if you are renting DVC points or have a friend or whatever, if you're staying there like a timeshare, you only get your trash changed every 4 days and stuff like that. You don't get the sheets changed every day, all that kind of thing. They don't change the sheets every day, but you don't get your bed made and stuff like that. So just to throw that out there. We should also give an honorable mention. It's not technically a Disney deluxe resort, but Swan, Dolphin, Swan Reserve. Oftentimes, actually, more recently during these like down popularity, down demand times for Disney, been seeing a lot cheaper prices at the Swan, Dolphin, or Swan Reserve, which you can book through Disney, but you can also just book through Marriott with your Bonvoy account in cash or in points. And so that's another cheap way. That's probably the cheapest, but it's not technically a Disney resort. So that's just a little bit of an aside there.
And they just announced there's going to be a major renovation of Swan and Dolphin. So that may be a little bit in flux for the next, I don't know, year plus, but going to be really nice when it's done. And Swan Reserve already is.
More convention space. Who can say no? Not Disney, that's for sure. Okay, so let's move on to what I alluded to, the convenience. A lot of these resorts are convenient. It's tough to pick one. Let's just start by kind of describing it. In terms of the really convenient resorts, Beach Club, Yacht Club, Boardwalk, they are on Crescent Lake, which is walking distance to Epcot, technically walking distance to Hollywood Studio, or you can walk to Epcot and take the Skyliner from there, or the Friendship Boats. So that's very convenient. And then you have Magic Kingdom, you have the monorail hotels, Contemporary, which is a 10-minute walk to Magic Kingdom, Grand Floridian, a little bit of a longer walk, then Polynesian. They're all on the monorail. They have ferry service when it's needed. And so those are your monorail hotels. So I feel like those 6 hotels are the most convenient. Leslie, there is one hotel that sounds like it's going to be convenient, but it's not. So let's give a special negative mention to that right now. That would be
Ojo, Animal Kingdom Lodge. you know me and Animal Kingdom Lodge. That's a hotel I've stayed in a lot, and it's beautiful and gorgeous, and it's right by Animal Kingdom, but it's so far away from every other park, and the only transportation available is buses. That said, the buses are more reliable, but definitely something to keep in mind. It has its draw, but the big negative is the location and the transportation.
Yeah, and you would think it's being called Animal Kingdom Lodge that you could like walk to Animal Kingdom, but that's not even the case there. You have to take a bus to get to Animal Kingdom, even though you're like right there and you're not that far away. So just inconvenient all around, even though by name you would think that it's a very convenient hotel. There are rumors that one day they will send the Skyliner all the way out there. And if they ever do that, maybe in 5-10 years, if we're still going, Leslie, we're going to have to relook at our rankings. But Crescent Lake or Magic Kingdom hotels, monorail hotels, what are you picking in terms of convenience? Which do you prefer?
So this has really changed for me over time. And I think for a lot of guests, it does. When you have younger kids, your focus of the vacation is likely going to be at the Magic Kingdom. And I think those monorail hotels, I mean, that's where I stayed when I was a kid. That's where I wanted to stay when my kids were younger. But the focus for our family has really shifted to Crescent Lake and the Skyliner, going to Hollywood Studios and Epcot, especially for the food at Epcot. So if you have older kids, adults only trip, I think the Crescent Lake hotels are the better choice. So it really depends on your interests and what park you're going to be spending the vast majority of your time. I will say I love the Poly for its location because you can monorail both to Magic Kingdom, but also you're within walking distance of the TTC and can monorail to Epcot, assuming that's running.
Yeah, I really like the ferry at the Polynesian as well, actually, because you can see it coming, so you can kind of like chill until you see it and then go line up. I am with you, though. For convenience, I'll take Crescent Lake these days. I actually like walking to Hollywood Studios. I like that walk, except for in the summer, of course. My kids love the Friendship Boats for reasons I do not understand, but they love them. They find it really convenient. And I've just found now that my kids are older, we don't need to spend all the time in Magic Kingdom. Crescent Lake is the place where we want to go. Shout out to Contemporary, though. When you have young kids, 4, 5 years old, still need a nap, kids, maybe a little younger, it is really nice to be at the Contemporary and just have that walk over to the Magic Kingdom and not even worry about waiting for anything to get to the parks. All right. So that is convenience. Let's talk about the rooms. We're going to talk only about the standard rooms because a lot of these different resorts have 1-bedroom villas, 2-bedroom villas. There's even 3-bedroom villas at Animal Kingdom Lodge, and the Treehouse villas, I think, are technically considered. Well, they're supposed to. I don't know. I don't know how many exactly bedrooms are in the Treehouse villas, which we'll talk about a little later. But just talking about the standard rooms, Leslie, what do we have to say about these rooms and these deluxe resorts? I mean, there are so many to go through.
Yeah, too many to go through, but I mean, they're fairly indistinguishable to me. I mean, all of these have Disney theming in them, but not over the top Disney theming like you'll find in a value resort. So it's more subtle. I mean, you've talked about, Joe, before, the Mary Poppins touches that you missed when you stayed at the Grand Floridian. So you'll get more subtle tips of the hat to Disney things, hiding more like the hidden Mickey style theming. So that's something to keep in mind. I mean, they're pretty much all the same. You can get the 1 king or the 2 queen rooms at all of them. And most of the deluxe resorts have those fifth sleepers that we talked about in our moderate episode. Only a few of the moderate hotels have those fifth sleepers, but there are two that don't. And those are Animal Kingdom Lodge and Wilderness Lodge. And those rooms are kind of a little bit smaller. So that's something to keep in mind. I mean, even for families of 4, because those rooms are a little bit tighter because they don't accommodate that fifth sleeper. But I mean, to me, they're mostly indistinguishable. It's more about location and theming. I'm really not choosing based upon what's in the rooms themselves. Are you, Joe?
Not really. I do really like Yacht Club because of the hardwood floors. The Incredibles theme in Contemporary is cool, but for me, it really is about the room. I will say that if I didn't have a family of 5, Animal Kingdom Lodge rooms probably would be my favorite. There's just something about the decor and the whole entire theme of the lodge that I really appreciate. But in the end, when I'm staying deluxe, which I guess is ironic because usually when you think you're spending more in a hotel, you're thinking about the amenities and how nice the stay is and stuff like that, which all these rooms are nice, but they're all like equally nice to me. And it's more about the other benefits like extended evening hours and is it only extended evening hours? It might only be that. And how close I am to the parks that really make the difference from me. But if I had to pick one, I guess I'll say Yacht Club is my favorite. But if I had a family of 4, probably Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Okay, makes sense. And we should, of course, mention Animal Kingdom Lodge is the only place where you can step out onto your veranda and see animals if you have one of those Savannah View rooms. So that is something unique and special about their rooms, even though they don't have the fifth sleeper. So let's talk a little bit more about the best options for larger families. I mean, so many of these resorts have DVC villas, and so you can customize your size. I mean, if you're a family of 6, you can go into the larger villas. So there really are a lot of options, but Saratoga Springs stands out. And why is that, Joe?
So they have the Treehouse Villas. They are 3 bedrooms. I looked it up as we were talking. A little bit awkwardly kind of spaced. I've looked at the floor plans before. I haven't stayed in any of them, but a little bit awkwardly spaced. But they can have up to 10. Animal Kingdom Lodge also has 3-bedroom villas that will hold up to 10. Very limited, though. They're pretty tough to get, unlike the Treehouse Villas, which are fairly easy to get. I think there's like 60 of them or something like that. So treehouse villas are great for large families. I will say the one drawback is it's actually pretty removed from Saratoga Springs, and you actually have to take a bus to get to the main Saratoga Springs area if you want, and it actually has its own separate bus system. But treehouse villas, if you have a big family, is the way to go. I think that if you are 8 or less, any of the resorts that have 2-bedroom villas are going to be a good bet for you and going to go really well. But you just kind of can't beat the uniqueness of the Treehouse Villa. I have it in my mind to stay there one time, but on like a non-park trip where we're like hanging out in the villas more than we are going to the parks.
Yeah, those go way back to like the 80s or maybe even the 70s, because I was just going down on a trip down memory lane with my dad talking about our Disney trips of old, and we are pretty sure we stayed at the resort that was the precursor to Saratoga Springs, and that's when the Treehouse Villas were around. So definitely old school Disney. So I like that tip of the hat too.
And one note we should say, the one bedroom and two bedroom occupancy levels, they're not standard across all of the different DVC resorts. So you really kind of have to dig in there and look to see which one will fit your family. Normally, what I do is, especially, I guess this is an aside, not for larger families, but sometimes families, even families of four, are looking for a suite or looking for a larger room. Normally, I put in a bigger occupancy to like find as big, like let's say you're a family of four looking for a two-bedroom suite for whatever reason you want. I put in 7 or 8 as the occupancy when I'm searching to just only turn up the two bedrooms. So that'll save you some time. It is really long and time consuming to look through all the different villas that they have. We just did it last year when we stayed at Saratoga with my extended family, and I had to find a one bedroom for my sister's family and a two bedroom for my family and my parents. And it took a while to just dig through all of them. So just something to bear in mind.
Definitely. All right, well, let's move to food. And the deluxe resorts all have sit down table service restaurants, and some of them have multiple table service restaurants. I mean, you also can hit up sort of a snack bar or something more casual as well at all of them. Nothing comes to mind that doesn't have one off the top of my head. But really what you're staying at a deluxe resort for, I think, are the food options. And then most of them also have a character meal option. So that's something that often people want to do on an arrival day or departure day, or maybe during a break or something like that. So break day. So that is available to you as well. So for me, Joe, I'm going to give Animal Kingdom Lodge some love. I think it has fantastic food. Boma plus Sanaa, two great restaurants. And that pair makes the food at Animal Kingdom Lodge kind of, in my mind, at least one of the best, if not the best. What do you think?
I really like Animal Kingdom Lodge as well. My favorite is probably the Poly with Ohana. Kona is a solid table service restaurant. Captain Cook's, the quick service restaurant, is really good. Good pulled pork nachos. And then, of course, they have pineapple lanai, I think is what it's called, but they have Dole Whip, which is important. So I really like the Poly. My other shout out would be to the Riviera, just because Topolino's is a really nice fancy meal and also a really great character breakfast, less fancy. And in my experience, I've been a couple times, they have one of the best quick services. So I think that's a really good option for food. Do you have any other honorable mentions that you like food wise?
I mean, yeah, also Grand Floridian. I mean, that has probably the most restaurants, if I can sort of do the math in my brain. Narcosis, and of course Victoria and Albert's. So that's super high end. That's not something that the vast majority of guests are ever going to do, but definitely if you're into like fine dining, the Grand Floridian delivers. So more for adults trips, I would say, than family trips.
Yeah, I want to bring up like all these honorable mentions. I just won't, because we'll be here forever, but there's just a lot of good food at the deluxe resorts. I feel like, I guess my demerit or whatever, like my negative, would be Boardwalk does not have great options right now. It got a lot of press because Cake Bake Shop opened with $25 pieces of cake and $8 espressos and things like that. I don't think that's a problem in and of itself. It's just that every restaurant at the Boardwalk is pretty fancy and expensive, and their quick service restaurant, like, it doesn't even really have tables in there. It's almost like a deli counter slash bakery counter. So just not as good options at Boardwalk for dining. It's not as big of a problem for me because I just walk across the lake to Beach and Yacht Club, but if you don't feel like taking a walk, that could be a problem. So demerit for Boardwalk. Okay, pool. Lots of fun pools again here. The crown jewel of pools at Disney World for the majority of Disney guests is Stormalong Bay at Beach and Yacht Club. Gigantic caveat, going to be closed from January through June of 2025, so not going to be open for the first half of the year as it undergoes a big refurbishment. But it's a mini water park, and you can float on a lazy river. They have a gigantic slide. There's a sand and beach area. There's just regular pool stuff. There's a huge, they always have a volleyball net up for people to play pool volleyball, and they have lots of stuff going on, millions of chairs. It gets super crowded, but that is the number one pool. What other pools are making your list for the deluxe resorts, Leslie?
The volcano pool at the Polynesian, that one has a lot of meaning for me. That's where we always stayed when I was a kid. So loved playing at that pool. Love the theming of that. So that's really a lot of fun. A place that you want to spend several hours in the afternoons on warm days. But yeah, like you say, I mean, all of these pools are great. They all have water slides, as far as I can think of. That's sort of a distinction between, the cheaper hotels and the more expensive hotels is the water slide. A lot of them have splash pad areas as well. So there's like a great one that's Alice in Wonderland themed at the Grand Floridian. So lots of good choices for pools, and you really can't go wrong. I mean, I'd say that's probably where Animal Kingdom Lodge is also the weakest. It's fine. It's one of the smaller pools. It's not as big as, say, the giant ones that you'll find at Grand Flo.
Yeah, recency bias since it's the last deluxe I stayed in, but also a shout out for Saratoga Springs. Their secondary pool is not a quiet pool in the same sense as most quiet pools in all Disney resorts are just plain pools. They have two pools that have water slides. So a little bit of a shout out there for when you're staying at Saratoga Springs. Okay, Leslie, I'm going to throw in a bit of a curveball. We didn't have it on our list, and we didn't really talk about it for the moderate and the valley resorts, but I feel like deluxe resorts are resorts where you can just hang out and spend a whole day there. We just did our rest day episode. Like, deluxe resorts are even better for rest days than other resorts. Not that they're all fine, but when I think deluxe resorts, I do think about hanging out at the hotel more. That is kind of what I'm paying for, in addition to the other stuff I mentioned before. So if you had to pick a deluxe resort to hang out at, what would you pick, Leslie? I'm putting you on the spot since it wasn't in our notes.
It's an easy answer for me. It's the Polynesian every time because the theming is great. I love just sitting in the lobby. I love grabbing a Dole Whip, walking around the grounds, seeing the water there. So much to do. So I think about the hotels that I visit when I'm not staying there, and I often visit the Polynesian. Go to Trader Sam's, watch the fireworks from the patio there if you're there at night. So lots of options at the Polynesian, and I guess the honorable mention for me is Animal Kingdom Lodge because there's so much to do in the lobby, a lot of like crafts and things just going on that you can just walk by and see what's happening and or just watch the animals out on the savannah. So those are my two. What about you?
I agree with those. I'll also throw in, which is why I thought of the category, Saratoga Springs and Old Key West. I think these bigger, more sprawling villa resorts they feel, because they're designed to be more like timeshares, they feel like a place where you can hang out at longer over the course of a day. These really, Old Key West and Saratoga Springs really feel like you're not there only to go to the parks, and I said this in my Saratoga Springs review. It's like you're not on the forced march of happiness. You're actually there to have a vacation and to relax and to enjoy yourself a little bit. So I'll give a shout out to those two resorts. All right, last category, Leslie, the favorite theming. I am sensing a trend. Why don't you go and say what our favorite theming is, and then I'll make fun of us.
It's the Poly and Animal Kingdom Lodge again.
Yes. The funny thing is, there's only one of those two do we actually actively try to stay at. That is the irony of us keep saying the Poly and Animal Kingdom Lodge. It's for all the reasons we mentioned, right? Animal Kingdom Lodge, it's awesome because you're on the savannah and you can go look at it. But the theming is like the most unique. It feels very Joe Rohde, feels very authentic, and is authentic because of the design. And the Poly similarly just feels great. There's a lot of enjoyable things there. I don't know, Leslie, can we add a third to this list for theming?
Ooh, I mean the Grand Floridian. Yeah. I remember seeing that being built when I was a child when we used to go in the late 80s and sort of thinking to myself, one day I want to stay there because it looks so grand. And I do love, what it was based on, the Hotel Del Coronado, in the Victorian Hotel in San Diego. So, yeah, I'll go with that one.
I will throw in Boardwalk because I'm a Jersey kid, born and raised, and it just reminds me of my childhood. I really like the theming there, and I think it's great. They just need a better quick service option, as I mentioned before when we talked about food.
All right, Joe. Well, it's time to close this out. So, what do you have for our Disney do or don't?
All right, so my Disney do is make sure you check the extended evening hours for when your trip is going to be, because a lot of people, or at least a lot of Leslie and Joe type people, are booking the deluxe resorts based on, or maybe even a split stay in the deluxe resorts based on using the extended evening hours. It has been kind of rough in November and December because Magic Kingdom is having so many Christmas parties. They've actually moved extended evening hours to Animal Kingdom, which I love me a nighttime Tree of Life show, but Animal Kingdom extended evening hours compared to Magic Kingdom extended evening hours, I mean, I just feel like you're getting the short straw there. It is so annoying to find park hours that I'm going to go through how to do it right now. You can click on park hours in your app and go as far as you can, but I always do it online. You go to disneyworld.com, mouse over tickets and parks, and then click on the see all hours in events calendar. And then you need to click the change dates thing and go as far out in the calendar as you can. Usually they only announce 2 months in advance. And like I said, probably it's going to be Monday Epcot, Wednesday Magic Kingdom, but it's really important to double check. The calendar only goes out to January 4th right now, so the last extended evening hours that is on the books is Wednesday, January 1st at Animal Kingdom. So make sure you check that and make your plans accordingly so that you know what's going on. So that's my Disney do. All right, so that does it for our overview of the deluxe resorts by category. If you have any favorites, let us know. DisneyDeciphered@gmail.com, at WWDeciphered on Twitter, or on Instagram, Disney Deciphered. Leslie, where can people find all of your extensive reviews of the Animal Kingdom Lodge since you've stayed there the most?
Still don't have a review on the site, but maybe I will by the time you're listening to this.
Why do we keep picking Animal Kingdom? You don't even want to stay there. It's just do what we say, not what we do. Once again.
Right. That's right. All right. It's tripswithtykes.com. I'm at tripswithtykes everywhere on social media. And I've been sharing a lot of throwback Disney photos of late. So you definitely go check me out on Twitter because I'm having fun with that right now.
Yeah, make sure she doesn't throw in a jump scare Chuck E. Cheese photo, though, because she's got those too, folks. Let me warn you. You don't want to see those. Chuck E. Cheese is even scarier back in the 80s than he is now. But yeah, you can find me at AsJoeFlies all over social media, Joseph Chung at travelmation.net if you're looking to plan any trips. Leslie, thank you. This is a lot of fun doing this hotel series with you. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And other than that, Leslie, thank you for taking the time to talk to me. And I'll see you staying at Animal Kingdom Lodge against your will once again.
Thanks, Joe.